Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Welcome to Beyond You podcast. I'm so excited for today's conversation. I am Samantha, and I want to be able to reframe something for you. If you've been doing the work, healing from toxic relationships, setting boundaries, choosing yourself, you might think, okay, I'm working on my mental health, but what about my actual life, my money, my career, my future? What if I told you those aren't separate? What if the work you're doing to protect your peace is actually the foundation for building real wealth? So today I'm talking with lovely Patrice Washington, and she's going to show us exactly how the relationships we keep are the ones we finally let go of, directly impact our ability to build sustainable wealth. Before we dive in, if you hit subscribe, if you have not, this conversation is going to connect some dots you didn't even know were disconnected. All right, let's get into it. Really excited to introduce you to today's guest. Patrice Washington is the CEO and founder of Seek Wisdom, Find Wealth, and she's the host of Redefining Wealth podcast, which has over 20 million downloads, 20 million. She's an MBA, specializes in financial psychology and behavioral finance, and she's the author of 5 books with the 6th on the way. She's shared stages with Steve Harvey, Lisa Nichols, Layla Ali, and she's a featured expert on the PBS series Opportunity Knocks. But here's what I love most about Patrice's work. She's not just talking about money. She's talking about redefining wealth across 6 pillars: fit, people, space, faith, work, and money. Because real wealth isn't just your bank account, it's your whole life. And today we're focusing on the people pillar, because I see every day in my practice how toxic relationships sabotage everything else: your energy, your goals, your peace, your money. And I want Patrice to help us understand how the work you're doing just already to heal your relationships is actually wealth work. So Patrice, welcome to Beyond You podcast, and thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me, Samantha. Tables have turned.
I know.
Yeah.
We just did an episode recently. If you have not checked it out, we'll put in the show notes to check it out. But I just was so excited to have you. And so let's start here, because when you talk about redefining wealth, you're talking about 6 pillars, not just money. Can you break down for my audience what you mean by that? Why isn't wealth just about the dollars in your account?
Well, I have to say that, you know, like many people, I didn't grow up learning anything about personal finance in particular. I grew up being the kid that would answer the phone when the bill collectors called and say, "My mom said to tell you she's not here." Right? That was my
Uh-huh.
earliest memory of how to handle money, was that.
Yes.
And so it's no secret or surprise, I should say, that I would end up in credit card debt during my college years, $18,000 worth of credit card debt. But would still go on eventually to build a business. It was a boutique real estate and mortgage company back in the day. And that became a 7-figure business until,
Wow. Okay.
let me give a quick disclaimer, until the recession started. And when the
Ah,
recession
yeah.
began, I was actually in the hospital on bed rest because I took a fall down the stairs at 20 weeks pregnant, and it
Oh,
sent me into preterm labor.
oh my gosh.
And yeah, they said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, this baby is coming any minute now." And what was supposed to be any minute now turned into me being on hospital bed rest for 10 weeks.
Oh my
My
goodness.
daughter was still born almost 10 weeks early, just barely 3 pounds. And she was in the NICU for 3.5 weeks before she was released. But she is now turning 19 years old this summer.
Oh my
So, and
goodness.
perfectly healthy and thriving. But the thing is, when I finally left that hospital after my stay there, as well as my daughter's stay, Samantha, I left with a healthy amount of medical debt. We're talking to
Mm.
the tune of almost $400,000 because my
Oh
insurance
wow.
refused to cover quite a bit. And at the time, I had 16 loan officers and real estate agents in my real estate business. None of their
Mhm.
deals were closing. The recession was beginning. And I was so vulnerable in that hospital room because I couldn't do anything for myself, but everyone was used to me being the fixer.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
people were still calling me and asking me how to fix their deal, how to make it work. And here I
yeah.
am, like, I'm just here trying to keep my baby alive. And
Yeah.
I remember my doctor saying, the monitor around your waist is monitoring the baby, that belt around your waist. If you don't stop stressing, you will leave here 2 years in a row with no baby. Because I did
Oh,
have a son the year before, same hospital, same doctor, who passed after 5 hours in my arms. And I think it's so important that I just share some of that backstory because it's been
yeah.
very instrumental in how I got here. I say all that
Right.
because I graduated from the University of Southern California with a degree in business and then went on to learn all this stuff about personal finance, which I applied to my work and built a seven
Yeah.
figure business. And when it
Yes.
was all said and done, I still ended up having so many challenges with finance because people
Mm.
teach us, go to school, get good grades, um, and that's the blueprint.
Yep.
Get to a job, make sure those people are happy with you. That is the blueprint for financial success. And I am the poster child here for you that is not the
Mm.
only part. When I was at my lowest point after basically eventually losing everything during that recession and having to start over, something that I looked up was, what was the real definition of wealth?
Mm.
I
Mhm.
had like a come to Jesus, bathroom floor, ugly cry. Like I was just over it. I had brought myself as far as I
Yes.
could take myself. And there was a scripture, it was Proverbs 17:16. It said, what good is money in the hands of a fool if they have no desire to seek wisdom? So I was like,
Mm.
well, I'm wise. I have these
Mhm.
degrees, certifications. What do you mean? So I looked up the difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is having
Mm.
information. Wisdom is how do you apply it? When do you apply it? Where do you apply it? Right? It's not enough to
Right.
just have the information, which also led me to look up wealth. Well, what is wealth really? And then I saw, oh, the original definition of wealth is not money and material possessions. That's the first one we see when we look up wealth. But when you
Mm.
dig deeper, the
Mhm.
original 12th century definition of wealth is the condition of well being and
Mm.
happiness.
Yes.
And it was like such a light bulb came on because I'm like, well, this is not just about money at all. What if it's more about us being well enough
Yeah.
to do better? Maybe we'll do better with our finances, but maybe we need to start looking at the other parts of our lives. That was
Yeah.
2008. And that is where my research and love of all these things began. Because I realized,
Yes.
even in my real estate business, the clients that had the greatest success, we were never just talking about what it takes to buy a house. I was helping
Mhm.
people change their beliefs. I was helping them change their behavior, and
Mhm.
inevitably that was helping them get to the financial results that they wanted. But it didn't start
Mm.
at just do this, do that. And
Mhm.
so since 2008, but formally since Redefining Wealth has been in the world since 2017, I have become so passionate about helping people see all the parts of their lives that are impacting their finances, even when they're not thinking about it. And when I
Mm.
look back over my life, the people pillar is second in the framework, but that does not mean it holds any less weight. Um, the people pillar is so important because the people that you are around will either speak life into your vision or completely undermine it in one breath.
Mhm.
The people that are in your life will either use language that helps you expand the vision for what's possible for you, or they will completely help you contract that vision,
Mm.
and stifle what you know you've been called to do, not just with finances, but in life. And so
Yeah.
the people pillar is about creating relationships that matter both personally and professionally. And I know I can say hands down, the opportunities that I have received, the ways that I have been just blessed in my life, it's people. It's making sure that
Yeah.
you're surrounded with people who support, encourage, challenge when necessary, but who can hold you to a higher standard and a higher regard without trying to diminish or dismiss who you are at your heart, at your core.
Ooh. Yes.
And it's directly connected to your finances because the people that you're around will also be the ones to make suggestions about what to
Mhm.
invest in. They are the ones who will normalize the language of abundance for you. They are the ones who will make it not risky to talk about, especially for women. Well, how much did you make doing that deal? What do you charge? Where are you investing? How did you stop doing that? money has been such a taboo topic for so long
Yeah.
that many people don't have the conversations, but the people that you're around, when they normalize these conversations, of course it allows you to elevate automatically.
Mm.
It raises your level of awareness, but also acceptance and embodiment.
Yes, yes, and love on how you're saying that, on how just being surrounded by just the right people. And so I love on how we're just kind of segueing into just getting more into the people, just the people pillar in when it comes to relationships. Because here's what I'm curious about in your work with people building wealth, how often do you see the people pillar being the thing that's quietly sabotaging everything else? I know you talked a little bit about it, right? I but just like they're doing the money work, the career work, but their relationships are draining them. How common is that?
It is one of the most common things that we see. So typically when people come into my world, we do a quiz, and we're happy to link to it. But we do a
Yes.
quiz where people can identify what is the pillar that actually is presenting a challenge. People are so surprised when they start to see that they don't have a money problem, they have a misalignment problem.
Ooh.
And the number one place I think that many people find is that it's in their relationships, because those relationships that we romanticize,
Mm.
normalize, intellectualize, sometimes even spiritualize, those relationships where, for example, you may have trained yourself to not speak up,
Yeah.
to not give your opinion, to not give your voice when it comes to making a decision in your household. I can't tell you how many times, I know that we're both divorced. And let me say, I'm an
Yes.
advocate of love. Okay. I
Yes.
love
Okay.
love. I love love.
We want healthy relationships here.
Healthy love, healthy relationships. But I can say, even as a brilliant woman
Yeah.
with an MBA in behavioral finance and financial psychology, if I'm radically honest, when I look back over my marriage, the number of times that I knew the right financial decision to make, and I
Mhm.
knew, because especially as women, our intuition alone can look ahead and say, if we do
Yes.
that, there's probably
Yes.
going to be a problem. And the number of times that, to quote unquote keep the peace,
Oh.
to seem like I
Mm-hmm.
was submissive, or that I was
Yes.
deferring to my spouse, or this or that, even though the true gifting in this area was truly mine, right? How much did that cost us over decades of
Mm.
me not recognizing or not being supported in truly, um,
Yeah.
in truly just having the safety to have conversations that would end up being a blessing to us as a family, to the legacy, to the
Mm.
unit.
Right.
And we
Mm-hmm.
hide that behind, well, that's my spouse, or, well, this
Yes.
is what I've been taught. This is the faith pillar is also a very
Mm-hmm.
big one here, but
Yes.
this is what I've been taught. So we participated in jeopardizing our own finances, and it
Yeah.
impacted everyone, even though we thought it was more beneficial to play small. That's my example when it comes to finances, but there's so many ways. I have so many clients who have realized that they never had a money problem, but they did have an enablement problem. So I
Mm.
have a lot of clients who are uh, men and women of a certain age who have allowed their adult children to stay on the payroll and stay on the budget
Oh, that's a whole nother. Yes. Yes.
much longer than they should. And
Right.
they will say, well,
Right.
I have to help them. And I will say, well, sometimes to help, you have to stop helping. Because as long as you continue to show up and be the savior for them, one, you're undermining your own vision for retirement and what you see for
Yeah.
yourself. And two, you're not teaching them that they are capable. And so you didn't
Yes.
have a money problem, mom, dad, because you've been doing the work and you've been saving, you've been budgeting, you've been investing. You have a problem, though, saying no because you've attached the finances to love. Well, this is how I
Oh,
love them. This is how,
yes.
right? And so I know you see this so much in your work that people
I
will say
do.
that this is the challenge. And I will always push back. I don't think you have a money problem. And people who
Hmm.
feel like they're struggling in their finances will, no, it's a money thing. If it were a money thing, then how come you haven't just pulled up a better budget and done better? If it
Okay.
was just a money thing, how come those 16 books you bought over the last 2 decades on finances in some form or fashion haven't solved anything? If it were just a money thing, look at all the advice that is readily available to you. This is what tells
Absolutely.
us it can't just be a money thing.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
untying relationships, having courageous conversations,
Hmm.
being radically honest with yourself first and then others, um, redefining what love, respect, honor looks like in relationships so that you stop throwing money on a bigger problem that's there.
Oh, okay. Yes, this is so good. Because I know you talked about misalignment before, right? And so I want to tap deep into that because just our word of the year is just being in alignment as well. So, I know we give an example. So, what does it look like when someone's people pillar is out of alignment? What are the actual signs they might not just even be noticing?
One way or one thing I would say is constantly feeling like you have to tiptoe around conversations that you know are needed. When you are in a relationship where you constantly feel um like the other party is committed to misunderstanding you, so you have now tried to present your viewpoint in English, Spanish, Swahili,
Right.
and interpretive
Switch
dance.
words around.
Right.
Yeah.
You think it's the tone, you think it's
Uh
the
huh.
timing, you think that there's all these other things that need to be true. So if I could just get it out this way, then they will understand. Some people are just committed to misunderstanding. And the
Mm-hmm.
longer we act like that is not really a thing, then the longer we suffer. It's no, you don't. And some of us have just been conditioned to train to give people 77 chances
Okay.
to understand us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you walk away or you sit with yourself and you think about relationships, not just romantic, but friendships, partnerships, acquaintances, any relationship where you don't feel like you can be authentic and true. And not that we
Yeah.
attack people, not that we make it their thing, but if we
Mm-hmm.
cannot express, "Hey, this doesn't feel good to me and here's why and this is what I'm
Yes.
thinking." If that doesn't feel safe, even as you hear me say
Mm-hmm.
that right now, that is probably an indication that you're not in an aligned relationship. You're not in something that is safe for you. Because if it were safe, you could
Absolutely.
say it.
Oh, and that could be hard to hear and to just to recognize and I know we have like cultural conditioning, religious conditioning as well. I'm just kind of staying in those places, and it makes it very challenging to kind of work just outside that because I know a lot of my audience is women of color, professional women who've been socialized to be the strong friend, right? The family glue, the one who shows up for everyone. So how does that kind of cultural conditioning show up in the people pillar work? Like what makes this harder? It could be just cultural, just religious, because I know that a lot of times we don't realize how much it can be able to affect.
I think everything that you listed, societal pressures, I am Central American. My family is Belizean. And
Yeah.
so even in my own upbringing, even though I was raised around mostly women, um, my mom and grandmother still very much supported the foolishness of my uncles and like men in my family. Like I
Uh-huh.
watched women do the hard work
Yeah.
all across the board. I mean, physical labor, emotional
Yes.
labor, the spiritual labor in our home, in our family structure, and then still have to cover and protect
Yes.
men
Yes.
who were not willing to do the same for themselves. And I remember being a little girl and going,
Yeah.
I don't belong here. I don't like this. I don't think it's any secret to my family that I became who I am because I was young going, I don't know if this makes any sense to me. But
Right.
also, I think religious indoctrination can do it as well. So
Mm-hmm.
again, um there's so many things that lead to this, but in religious indoctrination, I would say I grew up Christian and, the fourth pillar at redefining wealth is believe in something greater. And I have a great
Yeah.
reverence and respect for who I know to be God. But I will
Yes.
say that the picture of God I was sold when I was young, in a way, was demonized. You know,
Yeah. Right.
it was
Fear-based.
very
Mm-hmm.
fear based conditioning. And I was groomed to believe that God hates divorce. So
Yeah.
even when you're in the midst of something that is clearly dishonoring you, it was like, well, I can deal with this dishonor or I can go to hell. There's
Yeah.
no in between.
No between. Yes.
And it wasn't until several years ago that I started kind of waking up from this that I was like,
Uh-huh.
why would the God that loves me
Right.
put me in the hands of someone who continuously dishonors me? I had
Yeah.
to start to undo that in order to figure out what I use as governing decisions. So instead of boundaries, we say governing decisions in our community, a
Absolutely.
term I got from Sherry Salata. And basically, it's what are the standards for relationships that honor me? What are the standards for how I want to feel in a relationship, who I want to be in relationship, how I want to communicate in relationship? Once I started to write those out, it became glaringly clear that my former spouse was not the person. Great co-parent,
Mm-hmm.
wonderful co-parent. But in terms of someone that I would need to spend, I had already used 20 years of my life so that I
Yeah.
could spend another 20, 30, 40 years with, absolutely not.
Right.
And
Right.
from societal pressures to religious indoctrination to the culture that you are brought up in, all of those things have impact. And I think the greatest tool that I was given or that I've exercised was the permission to question why. Who benefits from me believing this?
Yes.
Who
Mm-hmm.
benefits from me continuing on this way for another 10, 20, 30 years? Who
Mm-hmm.
benefits from me silencing myself? Who benefits from me pretending that I don't know what I know and that I'm
Mm-hmm.
not who I am? And the more I
Mm-hmm.
ask myself, who benefits, who benefits, who benefits, I was
Mm-hmm.
never on the list of the person who benefited.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I knew things definitely had to change. And I want to say
Yeah.
for women, who may be listening, don't feel bad if you have been applauded publicly, and you have accomplished all the things and you have this air of like, well, I should know better, or clearly I'm above that. No one's above the programming.
Mm.
We hear, no, nobody's above the program. Nobody's above the programming and the
Absolutely.
conditioning that has been on repetition since we entered this world. We're not
Absolutely.
above the programming, but we
Mm-hmm.
can give ourselves permission to ask questions so we can get beyond it.
Absolutely. That is so good. So I'm just really hoping, my audience is just taking this in and what you're saying, because I just want to kind of, because I know you don't really talk about the cost. I would kind of go on the cost of misaligned relationships, right? And so in your framework, talk about misalignment for people. Pillar creates this internal tug of war, where you're trying to grow in one direction, relationships are pulling you back. And I see this all the time. Women leave toxic relationships, set boundaries with families, start choosing themselves, and then everyone around them has a problem with it. You've
Woo!
changed, right? You've changed. You're being selfish. You're not who you used to be, right? You know, we've all heard that. So how does that external pressure from relationships, from this affect someone's ability to build wealth, right? What's the
Ah.
actual cost?
The actual cost is that you spend so much time ruminating on things, trying again, thinking through my tone, the time of day.
Yes.
You spend so much time in that, you can't put a demand on your creativity to do the
Mm,
things that are necessary for your finances to grow to the next level.
absolutely.
When you are spending so much time managing the fragility of others, that is time taken away from your ability to build the financial empire that you desire. It just is what it
Mm,
is. The energy, the exhaustion. When you're in a misaligned relationship, come on, tell us in the comments when you talk about this podcast episode, how often do you stay up all night tossing and turning? How often are you restless? You
yeah.
cannot sleep. You cannot think fully. We think we're experiencing perimenopause.
Yeah.
And not that you're not, but
Uh-huh.
we put so much on trying to explain
Yes.
away our symptoms and what we're experiencing when really it's the misaligned relationship that is draining the life out of us. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you are exhausted, you do not make sound financial choices, friends.
Yes.
When you are
Yes.
so frustrated by what you're experiencing that you cannot even keep your environment together, you are not setting up a container to support your finances. If you're ignoring opening anything with numbers on it, no mail, opening those emails with the statements, having that conversation with the HR professional in your company, not responding to things, not replying to all of that avoidance with your
Yes.
finances. Some of us, it's the fear that if I get good at this stuff, people won't like me.
Mm.
We can take
Yeah.
on being the one to a certain extent, but for
Hmm.
some of us, we've already experienced a separation from the herd, the tribe, the people we were originally raised with, that
Right.
we can go get the degree, but if we get rich, that's too far. If our
Mm-hmm.
finances get too
Mm-hmm.
good, that's too far. So when we talk about just the relationships that are around us and what this feels like and what it is costing us, it costs us so much. It's just indirect, which is why
Hmm.
redefining wealth is about, let's talk about all the other parts of your life that might be impacting your finances. You're really just not
Absolutely.
thinking about it. I've had clients that would say to me, um, they would come in with, oh, it's a money thing, of course. And then we
Mm-hmm.
start talking about their life. And I always go through the pillars and tell me about this and
Mm-hmm.
tell me about that. I have had clients that were so, um, overwhelmed by their space that they literally just couldn't think. I'm sure you've heard before that clutter is the physical manifestation of chaos in your mind. And a lot of times when we're just dealing with a lot of clutter and disorganization, we can't think through how can we get our financial lives in order when our financial documents are scattered all over the place.
Yeah.
That of course it's going to cost you in the long run. You're not even realizing you're being charged for subscriptions you don't use anymore. You're
Yeah.
not realizing that someone has overcharged you, billed you twice. um you were supposed to get a refund or something, you forgot to even follow up. There's
Mm-hmm.
just so many small ways. We won't even get on the fact that the average American will buy the same thing multiple times in a year because they cannot find it. Like,
Yes.
the research says that we spend 76 hours a year looking for things we already own but can never find.
Mm.
How much
Mm-hmm.
money
Mm-hmm.
goes on you looking for something that good and heck well you've bought before, but because it doesn't have a place, it doesn't have
Yeah.
a home inside your home where you can get to it, you'll just buy it again. It could be the
Yeah.
smallest things, but when you add that up over time, the
Mm-hmm.
very money that people say they don't have to save, to invest, to um put towards that vacation or that thing they want to do, you have it. It's being
Right.
hidden in all your
Mm-hmm.
mess and all your clutter and all the disorganization. So
Right.
there are just so many places where this shows up in terms of the pillars, but how it feels. I've been in a relationship with people where I could literally feel it in my body
Yes.
to the point of having, and I don't know how often I've said this publicly, but to the point of having a panic attack. And I thought I was
Yeah.
dying and I didn't know what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, it's a
Mm-hmm.
stress induced panic attack. And I remember going to my doctor and she said, I've known you for 4 years. Like, your labs are always great. I know that you pray. I know that you meditate. I know that you journal. I know you do your breath work. I know you move every day. I like
Mm-hmm.
all of these things. She said, but the problem with high functioning women like you is that you think your practices can outperform the stress your body is actually feeling. And at the
Mm.
time, it made me radically honest about the fact that when I examine the pillars, I always say, the pillars give you a way to take inventory of what's happening in
Yeah.
your life. The number one thing that was stressing me out was a relationship where I loved someone dearly, but we were just too misaligned to continue. And the smart person, right, in me,
Yeah.
the brain, wanted to intellectualize.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to
That happens a
I
lot.
wanted to
Yes.
intellectualize it. Well, if we just do and he just does and we just do and then I can and then we can. And
Mm-hmm.
before my brain could catch up, my body was like, get
Responded.
out. This is
Yes.
not for you.
Ah.
And it
Ab-
because a hospital
mhm.
stay impacts your finances. A $2,000 emergency room bill on top of, and
Right.
that was just the doctor, on top of all the other things. Clearly,
Yeah.
that impacted finances, but also there were seasons where my ability to truly show up in my work fully, I can show up and
Mm.
maybe if I'm at a 60% to others, I still appear to be 100%.
Yeah,
Many of us high
that's
functioning
so
women,
true.
to others, it's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, you were great. But for me,
Hmm.
I knew that I was like, like it was slipping.
Yes.
And then the hospital stay or the ER visit made it abundantly clear. No, you have to make a different choice here. And it was hard and there was grief on the other side. But
Yeah,
again, who benefits from me not honoring what I know to be true? It wasn't me.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is so huge that you're even kind of mentioning, especially just kind of high functional and how we try to make things work. That definitely just does not work. So I know we've talked about what misalignment looks like. What does alignment in the people pillar actually look like though? When you're working with someone and you see their relationship support and their wealth building, what are the markers? Right? So it's just
Yeah.
what are the supportive relationships? Yeah.
I feel like when you are fully aligned in the people pillar, how it directly ties to finances is
Yeah.
that when you can speak up with the people who are closest to you with no fear of repercussion, then you can walk into a meeting with a financial planner, a financial advisor, a CPA, and just because you may not know the terminology, not feel intimidated. And just think about
Mm-hmm.
how if you can't hold a conversation with someone who wants to understand you, who is supposed to love you and be in your
Yeah.
immediate circle, how are you supposed to go into a conversation on a topic that may be intimidating or foreign to you with someone who may be on that Zoom screen or in that office looking at you and just like, what are you trying to say? And feel confident that they're not trying to sell you or
Yeah.
overtalk you or
Uh-huh.
misguide you or direct you and steer you towards what they want versus what you want. I think that when your people pillar is more fully supported, first of all, in your personal relationships, you take that
Yeah.
confidence and that conviction and that certainty into the conversations that might typically intimidate you, but because you have that backup of like, I know I don't know all the things, but
Right.
so what? I'm here.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I have governing decisions for how I need to feel even in the conversations with financial professionals. I can't tell
Right.
you how many women I've coached throughout the years that will say, "Well, I don't know what this insurance policy means. I don't know what this product means. I don't know what I was investing in. I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of deferred to my spouse, my,
Yeah.
significant other, my father, or the
Hmm.
person who was across from me, and I never asked any questions. Who benefits from you not knowing where you are putting your hard-earned money?
And I think we don't really realize on it, just it matters on who we're talking to, right? If we would want to even someone that we would actually follow, or is it just because
Yeah. Can I tell
it's a
you
man or
there's
whoever?
such a parallel too for those of us dating? I'm not
Yes.
dating in this season. Hallelujah. After 30 years, I'm single by choice.
Uh-huh.
But something that I have learned throughout the years is when it comes to financial professionals, people feel obligated for some reason to go with the first person that they were introduced to or the first person they meet.
Yes. So
And it's
true.
just like with dating, how some of us in our former years, not you now, girl, I'm not talking about what you do now, but back in the
Right.
day, how you kind of just went with the first guy that chose you. We
Yeah.
kind of forgot or were never taught that we always are free to choose. And many of us operate life from this lens that we have to live from obligation rather than option. So this person gave
Mm-hmm.
us a 30-minute consultation and then they're saying I'm going to send you paperwork to get the process starting and you just kind of go down the path similarly to how many of us ended up married back in the day,
Right.
right? You're like,
Right.
"Okay, I'm just
Yeah,
going
that's
to
what you're
go
supposed to
down the path. This is what I'm
do.
supposed to do." They were nice enough, right?
Yes.
Without understanding that we have the right first to choose, but we can also lay out again what feels right, what feels good for us, and acknowledge when we have reservations. Many of us
Yeah.
as women, again, we have known, if we're radically honest, we were never blindsided by the behavior of men in our lives. We put on
No.
blindfolds. And
Yes.
everyone actively helped in us putting on the
Yep.
blindfold, and we went with it,
Mm-hmm.
but we were not blindsided. We chose not to
Right.
go deeper. We chose not to look for some of the reasons that we said earlier. But now
Absolutely.
that we're all waking up, I always suggest to people, like I was just recently looking for a new CPA. I've talked to like 4 CPAs. I'm not
Mhm.
just marrying the first person I meet. That is
Right.
over. The first person that smiles at me, winks at me, whispers sweet
Mhm.
nothings in my ear,
Right.
professes all the things that they're going to do. I look at people over a longer period. So I've even looked at the CPAs that I've talked to who actually followed up in the time frame that they said they would. Because
Mhm.
if this is how you're
Mhm.
starting and we're supposed to be courting, then you're
Right.
already telling me that when I need you and when I
It's
have
gonna be there.
something come up,
Mhm.
you may not be as accessible as you're trying to let on right now. So I'm not
Mm.
going for with any financial professional ever again. I am not looking for what they say. I'm not looking for just what's on your website. I'm not looking for
Right.
your polished consultation. I'm looking for the proof, which
Mhm.
takes time to actually see. And how do I
Mhm.
feel when I ask you questions? Are you annoyed by my questions?
Mm.
Are
Mhm.
you rushing me
Mhm.
through my questions? Are you short with how
Mm.
you respond? Are you offering me
Yeah.
another call? Anything to do with your financial life requires the same amount of vetting. I think that we are now learning as women to give when it comes to dating. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to be a part of the biggest impact on women and their finances is if we look at it the way we're starting to see dating and relationships with men
Yeah.
or whoever just
Uh-huh.
your romantic relationships and partnerships. If we see the similarities between that and our financial life, you'll ultimately come out with better financial outcomes and you'll find someone who's suited for you. And that makes you feel more aligned and more at peace with
Yeah.
what it is you want to do and how you want to live.
Absolutely. And I love on how you're saying, like, would you check in with yourself and how are you feeling about it, even how they're responding. Like, you're just checking on all these different things and not just in dating, but in different spaces as well. Like, just even with the CPA. So I think that's really opens you just our eyes to be able to see just in a different way. And so here's something I just been really curious about as well. That what if you're in relationships that used to be aligned, but you've outgrown them? Right? Like these are the people who were there for you when you had nothing. They were supportive when you were struggling. But now that you're growing, thriving, building, they can't celebrate that.
Yeah.
They feel threatened by it. How do you navigate honoring what was while also protecting who you're becoming?
That's such a good question, and I feel like I asked you something similar,
Yeah, it was.
when you were on
A
Redefining
little. Uh
Wealth,
huh.
and I think I shared this with you in that episode. I am delusional enough to believe that we don't have to burn bridges
Yeah.
when we recognize that it's time to untie or
Mm-hmm.
maybe reduce or limit how much time we
Mm-hmm.
spend with people that just are not aligned, because
Yeah.
again, so much of trying to hold on to that is what creates the stress in our bodies. It is
Right.
what creates the frustration, the tension, and all of that
Yeah.
directs us away from what we say we want versus helps us build it. And so, I am not a person that believes that you have to have all these deep conversations with people unless
Yeah.
that relationship is actually necessitates that, or
Yeah.
how you want to move forward requires that. I think that when we start to develop what many people call boundaries, but again, I kind of refer to as governing decisions, my job is to enforce it by the way that I live and the way that I show up and the way that I
Mm-hmm.
respond. It's not to make the people that I love feel bad. I still honor and respect and have reverence for what they did in my life and the fact that they helped me get here. So it's not like,
Yeah.
hey, cuz you're not on the same personal development journey or healing journey as me, so I can't talk to you anymore. It's not
Right.
that, but it is
Mm-hmm.
I am not picking up the phone every time you want to talk about, something that drains the life out of me and giving you 2
Mm-hmm.
hours of my time every week. I'm not doing
Right.
it. Now, will I respond with reels, resources, book
Mm-hmm.
ideas? Can I have a 10-minute conversation? Sure. Am I willing to give 2 hours of my time anymore? No. Now, does the other person begin to feel that? Sure. And at that point, can we have a conversation? Absolutely. But the
Mm-hmm.
conversation is not you're bad or wrong and I'm right and I'm good. the conversation is more so to me enrolling them in the vision that I have for my life right
Yeah.
now, which could be, hey, in this season, I'm real in this season, because that always says it's not forever. It may not be forever, but in this season, in this moment in
Absolutely.
time, I am committed to, not interested. There's a difference
Hmm.
between interested and committed. I am committed
Okay.
to doing XYZ in my life. Not just when you want to get the degree, because we've all been there. Oh, we give the cousin getting her MBA or PhD, we give her a break, right? But like
Right.
just anything that you are doing in this season, I'm really focused on this thing, whatever that thing is for
Mm.
you. And I love you, but my time is going to be limited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just leaving it at it's not a you're
Yeah.
wrong or you're bad. It's not that at all. But if a relationship means enough to you, I think that you can figure out how to untie with and give
Mm-hmm.
people the dignity of their own
Yeah.
process. We don't have to make them wrong because we're in a new realization in our lives. And we
Right.
don't have to burn the bridge. We don't have to
Yeah.
just, I can't talk to you anymore. Now, sometimes people are so toxic that they will still be offended no matter what
As I
you say.
say, yeah.
And
It's adjustment.
in that
Mm-hmm.
case, again, who benefits from you bending to that toxicity, knowing how it's hurting you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if I tell someone that I love that in this season I require something specific and they know that they can't provide it, and then they try to demonize it or villainize it because they're not getting what they want, I think that's a clear indication that the relationship is misaligned because it doesn't hold the same weight with them as it does with you. Here you are trying to honor them and just kind of take space so
Mm-hmm.
you can do what you need to do. And here they are going, who do you think you are? And blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Okay. Now I tried. I
Right.
I
Right.
tried. But I've had some conversations in recent years with former friends, and depending on how they respected or responded to what I initially said, the final thing was a text message. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
letting it be complete. It was
Right.
that last conversation where I just needed to say the things. Um
Mm-hmm.
and I've just learned that I think it's Elizabeth Gilbert, the quote, when you liberate yourself, you liberate others.
Yes.
And I have learned that liberating people from being in a misaligned relationship with me, I believe on the backside liberated us both. It-
Yeah.
the scenario was just waiting for someone to finally get the guts to say something.
Absolutely.
Because if they are truly
Absolutely.
offended by what I am doing now or what I require for my life, there was probably always some type of silent resentment going on. But because I
Mm-hmm.
still held utility for them, they were willing to deal with it anyway. But then once I kind
Yeah.
of was, moving even that piece away or, toning it down a little bit, it's like, oh, well, all hell breaks loose. I'll just burn the whole bridge down. I'm like, well, I didn't want to burn the bridge down, but here we go.
Right.
But that's where I say I hold a little bit of delusion because I don't believe that because relationships may take a different form in different seasons that they have to be over. But some people do.
Yeah, but I think your openness, I just want people to hear that, like your openness you have about allowing people to be friends or to not feeling like they have to just because you knew them before, hanging tight to it because you knew them. It seems to be kind of keep people stuck. They're just kind of holding on to more of that nostalgia feeling than who someone is in the present.
I
So definitely.
I think it's the nostalgia, and then I also think some of us hold on because of potential.
Oh, ooh, yes.
It's like, oh, well,
Yes.
if they just keep being around me, if they keep hanging out with me, if I keep being an example or doing the things,
Mm-hmm.
then they'll catch up or
Yep.
they'll see the light. Christine Hassler says, give them the dignity of their own process. Sometimes people are just not there yet. And
Right.
setting yourself on fire for their potential is just dangerous.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm definitely glad that we were able to just touch on that. So, what would you say to someone who's listening and thinking, Patrice, it sounds great, but I can't think about wealth building right now. I'm just trying to survive this relationship. I'm just trying to get through the day. How do you help someone else that addressing the people pillar, even if that means leaving, creating distance, setting boundaries? That is the wealth work.
Yeah.
That's not separate from building a better life. Yeah.
It's There's a reason the pillars are laid out the way that they are.
Yeah.
Um, that was very intentional, and I've had people push back throughout the years. Well, why isn't money first, and then you can work on these other
Mm-hmm.
things, or why isn't? And I truly believe that if you find yourself um, in a undesirable scenario with your finances right now, I don't believe that the thing that you do is rush in and try to force anything with your finances.
Right.
I genuinely believe that where you start is the fifth pillar. Am I
Mm.
mentally and physically well enough to do the
Mm-hmm.
things that I need to do to
Mm-hmm.
have and sustain those conversations, to make, manage, multiply money? For many
Yeah.
people, we are not.
Right.
That is the truth. And when
Yeah.
you're thinking about, oh, my wealth building journey, there are people who are praying for things right now that they don't have the capacity to sustain. If a
Mm.
million dollars dropped in your lap today, you would find all types of ways to mismanage it based on who you
Right.
currently are. That is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because who you are
Mm-hmm.
with $100 is who you're going to be with 100,000. It is who you're going to be with a million. And fundamentally
Yes.
and foundationally, we have to start at the top, at the
Yes.
beginning. And no matter what
Mm-hmm.
your vision is, if your vessel, mind, body, spirit is not prepared to
Mm-hmm.
steward that well, you will be no better than the lottery winners that we hear
Yeah.
about that get a
Spend
windfall,
everything.
and then you turn
Yeah.
around and they're like, "What do you mean you're back in the trailer park?" Yeah, because they
Yeah.
weren't mentally prepared to actually steward that. And so someone says,
Mm.
"Well, how am I supposed to do both?" Uh I think it's coming to the understanding that you need to maintain the basics, the bare minimums with your the bare minimums, the bare minimum
Mm-hmm.
with your finances, and really using your time, energy, and effort to address what's going on in the pillars so it creates more space and capacity for you to do the
Mm-hmm.
next level things.
Mm-hmm.
There are just some things that, let's say you want to invest more, invest in real estate, or just do something that might be out of the ordinary for
Mm-hmm.
what you were accustomed to, or your family, or any of those things. You have to be mentally prepared for the pushback from the very people who say they love you and want to support you. Those are going to be the same people who are like, well, are you sure this is the right time? Is this the right market?
Yes.
Is this that?
Uh-huh.
If you're not mentally prepared for that, you're going to talk
Mm-hmm.
yourself in and talk yourself out all in the same breath, all in the same
Yeah.
sitting. So
Yeah.
it's not about rushing to go do those things until you do feel like I have been making the progress with myself, for myself,
Mm-hmm.
as my true authentic self, before I
Mm-hmm.
jump into let me go do those things, because then I don't ever have to defend myself. I can just move with intention. This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
This is how I'm doing it. I feel good about it. And by the time we get to the people pillar, I'm not here trying to protect or project or defend or you perform for anyone. I'm just doing what
Mm-hmm.
is fully in alignment for me. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
starting with the fit pillar, then allowing
Mm-hmm.
that to give you the space to examine the people pillar, and
Yeah.
then the space pillar. How am I setting things up? And you will find that there are so many different things that you can do in those pillars that, even without you forcing it, will start to support you in making better aligned financial choices. It's not something that you have to force
Yes.
or push. It's that you have to be
Yeah.
willing to examine the rest of your life and make those tweaks and shifts, and you will see how you start to show up better as a whole, which definitely just supports how you show up with your finances.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And then I know we've been like kind of giving little gems of advice, but is there, because I know with someone listening and recognizing that my pupil is out of alignment, they might be just in that space, and my relationships aren't supportive who I'm becoming. What's the first step that feels doable? Right? Like, where do they actually start when kind of doing this work?
I would say, first of all, being honest with yourself, because
Yeah. That's a hard part. Yeah.
that's the biggest piece.
Yeah.
Is because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you give
Yeah.
yourself
It's the
permission to
thing.
acknowledge it,
Mm-hmm.
you can't, there's no take backsies, right? It's like, oh,
Right.
I would say that you have to be willing to lose. When you think about what you desire for your life, for your
Yeah.
vision, for your finances,
Mm-hmm.
a question that I was asked by a coach going into my 40th birthday was, what would you be willing to lose to have everything you believe God um, has for you? And the minute the question came out, I was not even thinking hard. The question came out and in my spirit, in my head, the first thing that came was my marriage. And I did what
Mm.
most people do. I shook my head like, you know, get that out of here. Like I was like, oh, not
Yeah.
that. I didn't say it out loud to her.
Yeah.
She posed the question and told me to write down some things. And then when I went to write it down, I didn't even want to be honest about what I heard the very first time. So I wrote a number of things. Girl, I was reorganizing my closet. I did a whole
Yes.
kitchen
Anything but
renovation
that.
that I shared on social
Uh-huh.
media at the time. I was doing everything under the sun. And when I got
Yeah.
through all the things, all of the busy work, it still came back
Mhm.
to, what are you going to do about this relationship? And that's when I started to just move into acceptance. This is
Mm.
real, and
Right.
look at the way you say you want to be. So I would say the next step is write down those governing decisions. Don't think about the person. Don't think
Mhm.
about anything else. Only think about you and yourself and what is
Yep.
genuine to you, and go, how do I want to feel in relationship? What do the most supportive relationship? What does the most supportive romantic partnership look like to me, for me? There is no right or wrong
Right.
answers. This is
Mhm.
literally about you. Do not
Yeah.
try to, as I say, police the answers. Don't try to
Uh-huh.
hover over, correct, fix grammar, none of that. Just journal or speak it out into your phone as a voice note or something, and just let it
Mhm.
flow. And once you have that for your platonic relationships, romantic relationships, however you want to define different categories of relationship, now take that and with radical honesty, look at that versus look at your lived experience
Mm.
daily in the relationship that you are questioning.
Yeah.
At least do that part so that you stop gaslighting yourself.
Mm. Mhm. Yeah.
At least
Yeah.
do that part so you stop trying to explain away what you have been feeling in your body, even though your brain refused to acknowledge it or accept it. That
Absolutely.
piece alone, I had to sit with for some time before I could get to a next step.
Mm.
But it
Mm.
was just the
Mhm.
like, let me do it so I know that I know that I know. And then allow me to observe.
Mhm.
And then in
Yeah.
my instance, it was confirmed and confirmed and confirmed, right?
Yeah.
Like that I was
Yeah.
not crazy and I was not off.
All right.
And then quietly in the background, that's where I started to, what is the plan to exit this wholly and safely? But
Oof.
I think sometimes we hear these things and we think we need to make an immediate decision. I think someone told me years ago, you can decide not to decide anything today, and that is a decision.
Okay. Right. You don't have to have it all figured out right
I don't
now.
have to have it all figured
Absolutely.
out right now. I just need to be honest about my next best step. So, radical
That
honesty,
is
and
so
then
good.
writing the list of governing decisions, and then
I love that.
trusting yourself that when you are ready, you will take the next step. There's no such thing as, well, I should have left earlier. I should have done this sooner. I have also done the practice of writing letters to my former self. And at first I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I need to forgive myself for it. And I remember having a talk with my coach, and she was like, forgive her for what? She got you here. She's the reason that
Okay.
you got here. And I wrote a letter to my younger selves. And
Uh-huh.
at each age where there was something very specific that I could recall at the time, I thanked her for how she showed up. I thanked my
Yeah.
22-year-old self for being the first in my family to go to therapy back
Mhm.
then.
Mhm.
And back
Mhm.
then it was not as
It was not a
widely
thing.
accepted as it is
It was
now
not
at
a thing.
all. It was like, we
Right.
don't do
Right.
that type
We
of
don't do
energy,
it.
right?
Mhm.
I went through different periods in my life, and I just
Yeah.
thanked her, because without her doing the best that she could with what she had at that time, I would not be this version of Patrice Washington today. And I love who I am today. And I don't lament or regret anything that I experienced. It was a part of the story. There's nothing I can go back to do and erase it or change
Mhm.
it, but I celebrate her. I don't have to act like she wasn't that girl. She was that girl for what she could do at that time with what she knew, and
Okay.
that's it. And so
Yeah.
I also just want to encourage anyone who's hearing this, and you're like me, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s,
Mhm.
and you're like, oh, too much time has gone by. No, we celebrate the version of you that sat down today, or you're on that treadmill, or you're in your kitchen, you're in your car, and you're listening to this episode. Your soul
Yeah.
knew that you would get here, and your soul will know what you need next. This is just a starting point, but however it needs to continue on for you, you will know. So trust that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Patrick, before we wrap up, I want to ask, what's the one thing you want people listening to understand about the relationship between their people pillar and their ability to build wealth? What's the message you most want them to walk away with?
I want you to know that the relationships in your life will directly and indirectly impact the ability to create the life you say you want, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And we get
Mhm.
to do this by design or by default. The choice is yours.
So good. This episode was so good, and we truly, truly appreciate it. Thank you for breaking this down and for helping my audience to see that what they're already doing for healing the boundaries for choosing themselves. It's not separate from building wealth. That is building wealth. So everyone listening, the relationships you keep or the ones you finally let go of, that's wealth decision. If you're realizing your people pillar needs work, that's not failure, that's information. Now you know where to start. Patrice, where can people find you? Where should they go to learn more about the six pillars,
Mhm.
take the quiz, and connect with your work?
Well, you can find me at patricewashington.com. All things Patrice Washington are there, but I will say if you really want to get a cheat sheet so you at least understand all six of the pillars and how they connect to your personal finances, go to patricewashington.com slash the number six pillars.
Okay. All right. So if you got value from this conversation, here's what I need from you. Share this episode with someone who needs to hear that protecting their peace is protecting their wealth. And go take Patrice Pillar's quiz. I'll make sure to put it in the show notes. Figure out where to focus first. Get the clarity you need before you go. Just understand that taking this information, even at least doing one thing, is going to be impactful. We're so grateful for just you listening to us. Make sure to share, and we can't wait to see you. I'll see you next week.